Welcome to the Off Street podcast featuring Adam Reiner and Sean Dan. Off Street contains general information that is not suitable for everyone and contains certain forward-looking statements of future possibilities that, due to known and unknown risks and other uncertainties and factors, may differ materially from actual results. As such, there is no guarantee that any views and opinions expressed herein will come to pass. Off Street is presented for informational purposes, and nothing contained herein should be construed as a solicitation to buy or sell any security or as an offer to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Additionally, this communication contains information derived from third-party sources. Although we believe these sources to be reliable, we make no representations as to their accuracy or completeness. Adam and Sean are employees of Marshall Financial Group, Inc., a registered investment advisor. For additional information about the firm, including its services and fees, send for the firm's disclosure brochure or visit advisorinfo.sec.gov.
All right, Sean, it is Tuesday, March 12th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Did you watch the Oscars this weekend?
I did.
I did not.
I did. I can't remember the last time I watched the Oscars, but it just so happens this year I did watch a lot of the Oscar-nominated movies. I feel like this year there's a lot more popular movies than years past, like Oppenheimer,
yep.
Oppenheimer, Barbie. Oppenheimer, it feels like just won everything. Kind of,
Wasn't that kind of anticipated?
That was my takeaway of like my casual viewing of it. Oppenheimer cleaned house. I think they won Best Actor, Best Director, Best Movie.
Okay.
So
all the big ones.
But interestingly, I found out that even if you were nominated for one of those top 3 categories, even if you didn't win, you did not go home empty-handed.
Okay.
So according to the Wall Street Journal, this article came out Monday morning. If you were nominated in those top 3 categories, you got a $178,000 gift bag.
Oh, like a participation trophy.
Exactly. A very expensive participation trophy just for being nominated. It included multi-night stays at places such as Switzerland, St. Bart's. It had holistic wellness retreats, all the way down to $9 packs of soda.
Okay.
So it was a mix of physical gifts and trips that you could redeem.
Sounds lovely.
Sounds very lovely.
I did see for a brand to be eligible to enter stuff into the bags, it was a $4,000 minimum fee.
That seems like a steal.
I'm thinking we have a marketing budget. Maybe we can drop some koozies in these bags.
Some koozies, a little Marshall Financial flyer.
There you go. I mean,
Understand you have made some good money recently.
just spitballing ideas here.
All right. You might want to bring it up at the next marketing meeting.
Suddenly we get a bunch of listens from Southern California.
Killian Murphy's walking down the beach with his off-street koozie.
They are nice koozies. It's a lovely mint green color. But
it's a great product. Interestingly, though, they said in the article, no one has ever come close to redeeming all of the offers.
Okay.
And
why?
Well, unfortunate wrinkle, and I think this is a related reason.
It's always a catch.
If you accept these gifts, it's taxable.
Oh, there you go.
So if you take this $50,000 3-day trip to Switzerland, you're going to get hit with a tax bill for it.
No.
So there's trade-offs.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're still getting a trip to Switzerland 70-80% off if you look at it that way.
I don't know. But are they? Are they really saving any money?
I don't know. They're in it's all fake money to them anyways. Have tens of millions of dollars.
I guess, as long as they manage it well. Which again, we can help with that.
always be selling at them.
So this week, 4 years since COVID.
Yes, we're in the period where you can go day by day and look 4 years ago today what kind of crazy event happened.
Yeah.
So today just so happens to be college basketball got shut down 4 years ago today, which for sports fans like me who love March, that was the day I was like, okay, this might be really real.
Yes. Things got real then. Like no NCAA tournament.
I vividly remember they did a live cut in the Big East tournament was about to tip off their first game of the day. And they said, we're not letting anyone in the building. The games are canceled. And they just showed I think it was the St. John's mascot sitting alone in a sea of seats in full costume, just like head sunk.
I remember we had a party, like at a lunch thing here in the office for someone's birthday.
Yeah.
And during that, we were all talking about flat 2 weeks, 2 weeks flat in the curve, no big deal.
Yes.
Right? Crazy swings in the market that March, if you can remember back that far. I won't run through all the returns. I'll just go through some of them. but like 7.5% down day, a 9.5% down day, followed by a 9% up day,
Yes.
then a 12% down day.
We were triggering circuit breakers. Everyone got a lesson on what a circuit breaker is.
Yeah, we just kind of went back through this, like back and forth, like these big drawdowns and then run-ups all the way through March 23rd when the Fed stepped in.
Jay Powell heard it was your birthday.
Yes.
And he was like, we need to give Adam a little bit of a pick-me-up.
I remember getting a text from someone saying, happy birthday. And I said, all I want is accommodation from the Fed. That really the Fed's birthday gift.
Well, someone was looking out for you because that's what you got. And the market never looked back at him.
It did not.
Off of your birthday, just about 4 years ago at this point, the market has now more than doubled from those COVID lows, if you can believe it.
You're crazy. Probably the economy since then has been much stronger than people would have thought.
Yes, the fallout that everyone expected, at least financially, has yet to come, and it's looking less and less likely.
Yes.
The further we get.
There's more people employed today than there was in February of 2020. That's a great thing for the economy. Wages have grown.
Yes.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
You can also say inflation's up, but by most metrics, wages have outpaced inflation since 2020.
Taylor Swift continues to single-handedly boost the U.S. economy as well as economies around the world.
That was one of the most I forget, that was last week. It was last Tuesday I saw that, right? It was during the State of the Union. I was watching that on Bloomberg.
The Singapore stat?
Yes. And I remember I took a picture of my TV screen to show you that that next morning because I know you love Taylor Swift.
Don't put that on me.
But it said because of tourism, that economists had to revise Singapore's GDP forecast higher by 0.2%.
Yes.
Which is just a crazy thing to think about.
Not a little amount of money. Like in Singapore dollars, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
Who would have thought in 2020, like, you couldn't go to live sports, you couldn't see live shows.
Oh, yeah.
That concerts would be moving countries' economies.
Speaking of live sports, though, I did look back 4 years. It's been maybe the most painful and the most joyous 4-year stretch I think a sports city could have.
Okay.
In Philadelphia. We've had so much success and fallen short so many times. Eagles have lost a Super Bowl, had a historic regular season collapse. Phillies have lost the World Series, have lost the NLCS.
Phillies.
Sixers, it feels like have choked in the playoffs 5 times in 4 years.
The Sixers.
And the Flyers haven't done a thing.
They might make the playoffs this year. We'll see. It's going to be close.
So, overall, in the 4 years since COVID, I would say economically, surprisingly good. Things have been solid.
Oh, yeah. I don't think no dispute here. So every year, Powell goes before Congress twice a year, semi-annually.
Yes.
To give his monetary policy report. And we have this on in the office. And we were watching some of it last week while we were working. And I don't know. It feels like at this point, like they should just stop broadcasting it.
It's a circus. It's a circus.
If anything, it's worrying for me.
It's like asking members of Senate to fly a plane when they just have to ask like a logical economic question.
Yeah, so Powell goes before the Committee on Financial Services in the House, and then in the Senate, the next day he does it. It's the Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. And sometimes you and I just look at each other like, oh man, like, is that a real question?
They need to stop doing it because like it just makes these elected officials look like they have no idea what they're talking about. And like these are the people that are on these committees that are supposed to be making laws.
Yeah.
That help run the financial world.
A bit of hyperbole, but here's the way that it goes. Like, you have a committee member and they'll say something like, I believe if we increase the supply of X, it will help control the costs and bring down prices. What do you think about that, Chairman Powell? And Powell will generally just go, well, if you increase the supply of X, generally you would expect to see downward price pressures without a move in demand. So you're correct. And then the committee member will be like, I yield back my time.
It's all grandstanding. It's all grandstanding.
But I think the only noteworthy thing in these 2 days of testimony was Powell said one line, and it was, the Fed is not far from having the confidence they need to lower rates.
Yeah, I that was the only tangible takeaway. Still seems like we're on track to cut at some point this year. not a big surprise. Seems like the market didn't care much last week.
No,
there was no real movement while he was speaking.
Non-event.
Yeah, so kept it moving.
Yeah. There was an inflation report today. I think people were just based on market action today. People were probably braced for the worst. I've seen headlines that have come out since the release that inflation took an unexpected turn higher. I'd say it wasn't really unexpected.
Yeah, no.
Like we've been talking about this for, if not weeks, months at this point, that inflation would look like it was going to tick higher in February and March when we get that data. Like, inflation swaps have been right. Economists have been wrong.
Yeah, no reason to panic. Again, kind of a non-event.
Yeah.
Right? The market traded higher despite the quote-unquote higher than expected inflation.
Yeah, but next month we'll probably see more pearl clutching from economists when it ticks higher again. But I think this is well known at this point. But
kind of speaking of COVID, Powell testimony, these after effects in this post-COVID world, a lot of interesting articles this week about just kind of broadly work from home stats.
These were interesting.
The first one being, this is from Axios, really interesting. It shows based on income brackets, the average distance that someone lives from their place of work. In pre-COVID, pretty much no matter what income bracket you were in, on average, you lived about 10 miles from your office.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in there, like 10, 15 miles.
Decent commute, nothing crazy. Since COVID, really in this work from home world, there's now a strong correlation of how much money you make and how far away you live from work, where the top bracket, they break it out, 250,000 plus a year being the top bracket. On average, these people work 42 miles away.
It's crazy. It's
from where they live.
It's a big spike. And we can get into that whole discussion of what happens if we looked at median instead of average.
Yeah,
but
definitely skewed.
But it's certainly moved, even just looking at the average number, which they had going back to 2018. And it probably has a lot to do with remote work.
Yes. They said before COVID, less than 1 in 100 workers lived more than 50 miles away from their job. Now we're at 1 in 20. That's a big swing.
Work from home, I'd say it skews towards white-collar jobs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There was also a story about the 4-day work week.
Yes. Well, wait. I have one more point I want to make about question for you. In this article, it said those making more than $250,000 a year, on average, live 42 miles away from their place of work. And then it says in parentheses, one way, comma, as the crow flies.
As the crow flies?
What does that mean? As the crow flies.
The first time I ever heard this expression was when I was in Kentucky, and I had no idea.
It sounds like a Kentucky expression.
Person was talking about. It just means in a straight line.
A straight line.
Straight line, I believe.
As the crow flies, Adam.
As the crow flies.
So, how many try and start working that into my daily toolbox of phrases?
All right.
I like that one. Anyways, as you were saying.
So this story was on ABC News, and it was a 4-day work week study.
Yes.
That was done. I think it was done over the course of a year. 61 companies in the UK participated. And guess what they found? Happier employees, lower turnover. 100% of the CEOs that responded to the survey reported a positive or very positive impact on their organization. So as part of this study, companies had to complete 100% of their usual workload in 80% of the time with no reduction in pay.
It feels doable. I'll be a little guarded. I'm talking to my boss right now. I don't want to say anything wrong, but I feel
like you've been dropping enough hints with the 4.5-day work week.
Hey.
And then there was another one.
You're picking these articles just as much as me, man. I am of the belief of if you set a time, it's like, okay, I'm going to give myself 10 hours to get this task done. It'll take 10 hours.
Yeah.
If you take the same task and say, I'm going to give myself 6 hours, you'll probably find a way to get it done in 6. Like the amount of time you give yourself to do something generally like guides you, right?
Yep.
So I can see like 32 to 40. Okay, you pick up efficiency a little bit in different spots. Maybe, cut down on the conversation by the water cooler. Yeah, you can probably get a white collar desk job done in 32 hours.
Probably. That's a job that translates well to the 4-day work week. I think in the article they give an example of like a ticket collector at the movies, like that couldn't do their job in a 40-hour job in 32 hours. It's just not possible.
That's the tough thing, and they said towards the end of the article why this probably would never be like broadly accepted, or the U.S. wouldn't make it a 32-hour work week, is because those kind of manual physical jobs you can only get so efficient at. And like if you make 32 the norm, then you're paying overtime on 8 hours that you weren't otherwise paying. They said it's been about, I think it was 90 years since a really broad pro-labor law like that was passed in the U.S. So probably not coming on a broad scale.
No, like they had said, staff well-being, reduced turnover, and improved recruitment were the reasons for the positive impacts. But you had just mentioned cut down on conversations in the office. Prepping for this yesterday, there was an article, I believe it came from Levine, from a Bloomberg piece, and it was some employees are starting to pull up old Zoom calls at their desks so other employees don't bother them during the workday.
Just fake Zoom calls.
They had said there's like sometimes Zoom videos don't download fast enough. So on YouTube, there's like equivalent of a township meeting.
Okay.
From some small New Zealand town that has almost 2 million downloads just because it's quick for people to pull up and listen to. So it makes it seem like they're in a meeting.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Costco has been in the news a bit lately.
Yes. Most recently, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Did you know Kirkland Signature has a line of wines?
I did not, but now I do.
They have a line of wines.
Time out. We can't buy these in PA, can we?
Can we? I don't go to Costco.
I don't know.
Can you not buy alcohol at Costco?
I don't know.
PA?
I don't think you can. I'll need someone with a Costco membership to confirm this.
We do have. I don't even know the laws at this point. Like, you used to not be able to do it in grocery stores. Now you can in some grocery stores.
It's a separate part of the grocery store.
Like mostly like beer distributors you have to go to.
Yeah.
And anyways, if in your area you can go to Costco and buy alcohol, you can get wine for as cheap as $6.89 a bottle. That's concerning. I don't know. I don't know if I want to drink $6 wine, Adam.
But it seems like it's good wine.
That is the catch here. The Wall Street Journal reviewer says most are actually pretty good.
Yeah. Like they talked about a Sauvignon Blanc that sells for $7.49 a bottle. And like one of the reviews was it's on par with brands that sell for 3 times the price.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They also sell champagne for $20 a bottle.
And
like,
legit
champagne. Like real champagne.
Yes, from the Champagne region of France, Adam.
Yes, they work with the same winemaker for 20 years, part of the oldest cooperative in Champagne, and it's described as astonishingly cheap for real champagne from the Champagne region of France.
I guess I wouldn't be too opposed to trying this. Kirkland Signature, I feel like
I would absolutely try this wine.
Usually delivers.
So part of the reason they're able to sell it so cheaply is they don't market, so they don't have advertising costs.
Yes.
They sign long-term contracts with the vineyards. They have relationships with winemakers, and then they collaborate with others.
Yeah, and they said like pretty much everything else at Costco, they rely very heavily on large volumes and super tight margins.
Yep.
It's a volume game.
So make it up on volume.
It reminds me though, are you familiar with the $1.50 hot dog story? You are, right?
I am. I saw this a little bit in the news last week.
For those who aren't aware, at Costco they're famous for their $1.50 hot dog. And they've held that price for a very long time at this point. And I guess it was not too long ago the current CEO or the CEO at the time, Craig Jelinek, went to the founder of Costco and said, "Look, man, we are getting crushed on these hot dogs. We're losing so much money. We got to raise the price at least a little bit." To which the founder replied, quote, "If you raise the effing hot dog, I will kill you. Figure it out."
You know, it's $1.50 for the dog and a soda. It's a good deal.
Yes.
It's such a good deal. There was a news story last week that the Costco food court is starting to crack down on non-members.
Yeah.
which apparently became a thing in 2020, which you actually had to have a membership card to buy anything in the food court. It was just lightly enforced.
Interesting.
And now they're enforcing it.
Yeah. In this inflation world, where else are you going to get that deal? And they have stuck to it. The CEO said he figured it out. So, I mean, you have these loss leaders. If you're known for something that's like such a good deal, kind of to stick with it.
Yeah, but Costco, example of a stock that's been thriving over the past few years. I think it's up more than 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Over the last few years, maybe like 127.
Not just over the last few years. If you stretch it out to 10 years, it's grown at over 20% a year at stock. And if you want to stretch all the way back to inception in 1982, we're talking about 17% a year for over 40 years the stock has done.
Crazy.
$10,000 investment in 82 would now be worth about $8 million.
Man.
So
They always seem to be in the news as well. There was that story a few weeks ago that they're selling gold bars and they sell out so quickly.
I don't. It'd be very interesting to work in like business development at Costco. Like, what are like? How do you decide?
Like in
all right,
purchasing?
we're gonna make putters and we're gonna sell gold bars and our hot dogs are gonna be really cheap and we're gonna get real champagne from France.
You know, it sounds very ambitious, everything that they do, but it tends to work.
Yeah. Props to them.
So another day, some more Mag 7 stories, Sean.
Yes.
What a polarizing world tech has become.
Yes.
So I feel like just within the past week, was a story from JPMorgan of they used PE ratios to justify why the Mag 7 stocks aren't expensive. And then today, Apollo's economist, Torsten Slok, also used PEs to say why they were.
Yes. Torsten Slok thinks the market today is more expensive than it was in the dot-com bubble. Meanwhile, JPMorgan is like, yeah, these big 7 tech stocks, they're actually undervalued despite
it's crazy.
despite everything that's going on. And the rationale JPMorgan uses is if you look at the forward price to earnings ratios in the Mag 7 relative to the rest of the S&P 500, it's actually lower than the median since 2019. So lower PEs relative to the market.
Interesting. I don't know. I know someone's going to be right in the end.
Yeah, someone's right. We're never going to check up on who was wrong or hold anyone accountable, but everyone's got an opinion to throw out.
But one of those Mag 7 companies in the news a bit over the past week, Apple.
Yes.
They are abandoning plans to enter the car market.
Yes, this was a big deal last week when this was announced on Bloomberg. They've spent, I think it was about a decade on plans.
Yeah, it started around 2014.
Trying to get it off the ground, but have pretty much gotten to the point where, we don't want to compete in this space. We're just going to ditch it.
Yeah. So I was shocked to see 2,000 people employed as part of the car unit
it's crazy.
At Apple.
Yeah, way bigger than I would have expected.
Can you take any guess where Apple is going to reassign or shift some of these employees?
Vision Pro, AI.
AI.
Something
of course.
AI.
Of course it's going to AI.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're Apple, why go through the clunky process of building a physical car when you can make some software that probably crushes it on margins?
They had an interesting name for their car project, though. It was Project Titan.
Project Titan.
Who names these things?
But it is interesting, too, if you kind of dig deeper here, they weren't really putting that much money towards it.
No.
In terms of Apple standards.
If anything, then you could make the argument they weren't very serious about making a car.
There was one article that estimates they were putting about $1 billion a year towards the project, which, Apple has $73 billion in cash and short-term investments on their balance sheet. Like, $1 billion is a rounding error for them. And I think they care about $1 billion a year.
Last year, they spent almost $30 billion on R&D alone.
Yeah. They said on the day that Apple announced that they were ditching this project, the stock was up about 1%. That's about $20 to $30 billion
right?
of market cap movement. So,
not to mention their annual revenue is like $380 billion.
Yeah, Apple does not care at all about $1 billion. It is unfortunate though for all those people if you spent 10 years of your career on a project and just gets cut like that. But hopefully they'll get reassigned to an even cooler AI project.
Yeah, like this even just help demonstrate how little Apple spent annually on this car project. So if you take the $1 billion of R&D to the $380 billion of revenue,
okay,
and just like think of it as a person. So a person making $100,000 a year.
Okay.
It would be equivalent of them spending like $260 a year on a hobby.
Yeah. You are back playing hockey, right?
Yeah.
It's like going and getting some new gear for hockey, playing 3 times, and be like, all right, I'm done.
Right? It's crazy. You want to switch to uncorrelated? Or you have anything else?
Do you want to do congestion tax? You want to talk that?
Oh yeah. Let's do that. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So this is an interesting story that's kind of been a long time coming. It looks like New York is finally set to kick off their congestion tax for Midtown Manhattan starting in mid-June. So drivers that come into Midtown Manhattan at peak times will be charged a $15 tax per day. And this is meant to cut down on it's basically a penalty. They want to keep people from driving and clogging up the streets during rush hour, basically.
I like this.
I like this a lot.
You know,
I like it a lot.
I think it's better than raising the tax rates for everyone.
Exactly.
And just it's like a use tax for the people that are going to use the infrastructure. They should be the one paying the tax. And if you're going to be the one using mass transit to come into the city, you shouldn't be paying the same tax.
And that's the best part is this money they expect to raise about $1 billion a year doing it. It's going to go towards the upkeep and improvement of mass transit. So subways, buses, those sorts of things. And really it's all about pushing. New York obviously has a very good transit system. Most people do take the subway or walk places. You know, we don't need all these cars in the street.
Makes it. Have you ever driven in Manhattan?
I have not. It seems like the worst thing in the world.
Oh,
an absolute nightmare.
When we go up to Manhattan, we go out of NJ Transit right there in Hamilton.
Yeah, that's what I always do. It's easy enough.
It's an easy train ride.
Drops
it's easy to drive to as
right
well.
at Penn Station.
Yeah.
If you're going to something at Madison Square Garden, you're right there.
Uncorrelated?
Let's do it.
So this first story, the video is what makes it.
Yes.
By an Auburn student made a 94-foot putt the length of the basketball court to win a car.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool.
And the kicker is he's now the second person to do it in 2 years.
From Auburn?
From Auburn.
Interesting.
Someone hit the putt last year at a game. No one had won it since 2014, and now people are winning cars left and right down in Auburn,
crazy.
Alabama.
I saw it was a local Toyota dealership that participated.
Yeah, on the hook for the prize. I feel like there's been a lot more of these videos recently. I don't know if it's just they're making them a sports center or what, but it seems like every night someone's hitting a half-court shot to win a prize or a super long putt, something like that. And I was looking it up. There's actually a kind of a big business behind insuring these events. Like if you put on, like say, you know, if you make this putt, you win a car.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A lot of times you're not going to be fully exposed to this. You'll buy an insurance policy.
I don't think the premiums are all that much for these insurance policies.
And so I looked them up, and I was going to quiz you on. There's a couple where these people show real world examples.
Okay.
This insurance company of policies they've written in the past. So they have one here. They wrote a policy for a group that was offering a $12,000 scholarship at halftime of a basketball game for someone who hits a layup, a free throw, a three-pointer, and a half-court shot in 30 seconds. Have you seen those?
I've seen those things, yeah.
Yeah, like the progressive shots. So how much do you think a one-time insurance policy on that would be? $12,000 scholarship.
Well, the prize isn't that large. There's
Correct.
a lot of activities that they have to do to earn it. Probably a couple $100, a few $100.
$285.
Okay.
$285. This next one, someone was offering. They were having a like a golf outing.
Okay.
And
this is like a hole-in-one thing?
Yeah, one of the raffles was one person was going to get a chance to shoot or hit on a par 3. And if you made a hole-in-one on your first try, you would win $1 million.
All right.
But it's one shot at a hole-in-one. What do you think the premium would be on that?
Chances of hitting a hole-in-one are pretty low. It's a large prize, though. So that one's probably going to be higher. Like high hundreds, low thousands.
Only $300.
Only $300.
The PGA estimates for the average amateur golfer, your chances of hitting a hole-in-one are 1 in 12,000.
All right.
On any shot. So and this last one, I think unfortunately this bar got fleeced on this premium, but
okay.
A bar was offering $250,000 to someone who got a perfect bracket. So March Madness correctly picked 63 games in a row.
Yeah.
$250,000. You want to guess what the premium on that was?
$250,000 prize versus the number of potential bracket combinations.
I think there's like over a trillion, right? Like it's billions or trillions. Like
and
your odds.
it has to be low. It has to be like $100, $200.
It was $1,000.
How's that?
So 1 in 250 chance that bar got fleeced, unfortunately. But anyways, big business behind ensuring those types of events. Thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah, always interesting. So this next one, you had mentioned this in our prep meeting, and I was like, "What's the tie-in to Uncorrelated?" But you said, "Trust me, this is one of the most trending news stories."
It's a needle mover
over
Adam.
the weekend, and it has to do with Kate Middleton.
So this is maybe like from the perspective of two guys who don't really know what's going on, but hopefully it'll resonate with some people. I'm very late to the game, but I saw this Sunday. People are freaking out about Kate Middleton in that she may or may not be missing. She hasn't been seen in months. And then I guess she posted a picture on Sunday for, I guess the UK has Mother's Day in March. And so she posted a picture. There was a ton of obvious Photoshop in there.
Okay.
And people are like, we don't see her for months. And now this is her first official picture. And it's obviously Photoshopped. People even think like her face in the picture was taken from a magazine cover and just put on someone else's body. Spooky stuff going on, Adam, with the Royals.
It's funny. Colleen mentioned this last night. And I was like, "Oh, we're actually talking about that on the podcast tomorrow." And she was like, oh, "Okay." But they talked about it on Bloomberg yesterday. I think it was the #1 story on the Wall Street Journal for a period of time.
Yes, so it's permeated outside of pop culture.
So while we were doing the prep, we couldn't help but ask the question, for all of this that the UK goes through, does the monarchy add value to their economy?
Yes.
And lo and behold, a consultancy firm in the UK, Brand Finance, actually looked at this last year.
Yeah.
And yes, the monarchy adds value to the UK economy.
And they estimated by a lot.
Yes.
They estimated last year they delivered £958 million of economic benefit in 2023. That's crazy.
Yes. I believe they were quoted as saying there is strong evidence that the monarchy continues to deliver a huge economic benefit to the UK economy.
It's wild.
Yeah, even when you go, they have a year-by-year breakdown, or maybe every few years, and the annual uplift, as they call it, is always quite a bit. I think there was only 1 year, that was the last year, when it was actually negative because they spent so much on the
coronation.
Yes, what's his name?
King
Charles. Yes.
Yeah. They did say that the net positive impact it's not as big as it once was. They said more a couple of years ago under Queen Elizabeth it was bigger. Now they're and they've had a lot of scandals and that Netflix show, they're not as popular as they once were. But I don't know. It's nuts. It's so foreign too for the US set. Imagine having a king and queen that's just kind of there, but they don't really do anything.
Right, they help with tourism.
It's just a relic, of old times. It's bizarre, but yeah. They bring in money for the country, so got to give them that much.
I never thought we'd be talking about the royal family on the podcast, but here we are. Parting thoughts, Sean?
No, I will give the Bitcoin people their flowers this week a little bit. We hit new all-time highs today.
Yes, so over 70,000 now.
Over I think we clipped 72,000 this morning, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Got to give them that much for all we bashed on it last week.
While we're there,
okay.
They had on Bloomberg someone earlier today talking about they estimate, their opinion is Bitcoin could reach 200,000 by the end of this year based on their modeling. How do you model that?
What model? Yeah.
There are no cash flows. How are we modeling? I feel like we're just guessing numbers. And of course, it was someone that was selling a crypto product, so they had incentive for it to go up.
We're guessing numbers. You just can't let it drag you down. We let it drag us down a little bit last week, getting all upset about it. But let the people say their numbers.
I just want to know the models. Just show me how we're doing models.
Show me the models.
Oh, anyway.
All right.
Until next week.
Until next week. See you then.